The crew decides it's time to head out and meet the E4. Abby, being the relatable icon she is, decides to sit this one out and chill. She's basically on standby for moral support, ready to pop in if things get too real. A real one, for sure. After what seems like an interview but with swords, Augusta is seriously impressed. She says watching from a balcony just doesn't hit the same as actually fighting. She can feel the main character energy pulsing through the rover's veins, which is a massive compliment, honestly. Augusta starts dropping some serious lore about the hunt. It's not just a casual event, it's a huge deal for Septimont's survival, both an honor and a duty. For 100 years, gladiators have been fighting and falling in the Crimson Sanguis plateaus, making it historically significant. The prey for the hunt is officially revealed. Tacit discords born from the dark tide. This is not your average hunting trip. Augusta makes it clear that only beings that disrespect Septimont are on the chopping block, so the gladiators are basically pest control but for cosmic horrors. The rover is straight up about their goal, which involves something called the Sentinel's Relic. Augusta directs them to a place called the Earth Wedge, the epicenter of every hunt. It's a restricted area, but she promises to pull some strings and make it happen. With the plan set, Augusta tells the rover that patience is key for a hunter. She sets a meeting point at Tempest Cliffs for when a storm appears in the southeast. The whole thing has a very dramatic, cinematic feel to it, setting the stage for something big. On the way to Tempest Cliffs, the rover bumps into Ovidius, another gladiator. He's also heading to the hunt and offers to travel with them. This feels like the start of a new party member joining the quest, or maybe a new rival. The jury is still out. Ovidius shares some gossip about the current situation. This year's high tide is late, which is apparently a bad sign. He throws some shade at the Senate, suggesting they're not listening to the whispers beyond the temple walls. The political drama is officially brewing, adding another layer to the story. The crew finally reaches Tempest Cliffs, which marks the official start of their campaign. The vibe is tense and full of anticipation. Augusta gives a little pep talk, saying the path to glory reveals itself to the brave. It's go time, and everyone is feeling the pressure. Suddenly, a massive beast called a Chorosaurus appears, described as an abomination of the dark. This is the first major boss fight of the hunt, and it's clear this thing is not to be messed with. Everyone is told to be cautious, as this creature is on another level. Just as the fight gets going, a signal sounds and a mysterious priestess appears, telling Augusta it's time to wrap it up for the day. This new character, who clearly has some authority, adds another interesting dynamic to the group. Her timing is impeccable, almost too convenient. The priestess introduces herself as Yuno from the Tetragrammaton Temple. She has a very confident, almost cocky attitude, claiming that when it comes to the dark tide, none of the gladiators can compare to her. She's got that I'm the main character energy, and it's kind of iconic. Augusta explains that the Chorosaurus they fought, named Tyrannos, is the deadliest of its kind and a vanguard of the dark tide. The ultimate goal is to sever the link between the dark tide and its creator, the Throdian Leviathan, using the power of the Earth Wedge. The plan is to hunt and kill Tyrannos near the Earth Wedge to stop the dark tide from spreading. However, this beast is not just a simple monster, it's a cunning hunter itself, fully aware of their plan. This sets up a game of cat and mouse. The rover decides to visit Yuno at the Tetragrammaton Temple. The place is grand, filled with murals that depict prophecies. It feels like a major lore drop is about to happen, giving context to the whole conflict and the history of Septimont's struggles. A guide at the temple explains the murals, which point to two major prophecies. One is a warning about Septimont's lack of faith, and the other speaks of a hero of heroes with extraordinary power who will rise from the dark tides to bring eternal peace. Ovidius shows up at the temple, and the tension with Yuno is palpable. He's also staring at the murals, probably daydreaming about being the prophesied hero. Yuno calls him out, accusing him of being the Senate's golden child, setting up a clear political rivalry. The conversation gets heated. Yuno accuses Ovidius of trying to usurp Augusta's position to become the hero of heroes. She brings up his past expeditions and medals, basically telling him he's not slick and that she sees right through his ambitious power plays. Ovidius argues that Augusta, while a great warrior, lacks the extraordinary power mentioned in the prophecy. He points out that historically, all heroes of heroes were born with special gifts, and Augusta is just a normal resonator. He's making a play for the throne based on prophecy. After Ovidius leaves, Yuno explains the political beef. Augusta became E4 and immediately started rooting out corruption, which upset the senators who were getting rich off the old system. Now they're trying to undermine her, and Augusta is letting it happen to expose them. A signal from a griffin indicates that their prey, Tyrannos, has finally come out into the open. Yuno makes a quick exit, but not before telling the rover she wants their undivided attention next time. The hunt is back on, and things are getting serious. The rover meets an older woman, Grandmother Lebete, who speaks in cryptic ways about fate. Just then, Yuno appears with a magical bird named Aquila, and they use sacred flames to get a visual on the beast. It's a whole mystical vibe check before the big fight. Augusta reveals her promise to the rover. Their destination is the Earth Wedge, a relic from Sentinel Imperator. She explains the plan to use anchor stones to create a force field, driving the Chorosaurus into a specific area where they can take it down for good. The crew learns that Tyrannos is smart enough to set a trap. It knows they're likely to use aerial tactics and has laid an ambush. This raises the stakes, showing that their opponent is intelligent and requires a strategic approach rather than just brute force. The battle begins, and the ground immediately starts collapsing. Tyrannos is throwing molten rocks, forcing everyone to use pillars for cover. It's a chaotic and dangerous fight, and the cunning beast has them on the defensive right from the start. Victory is far from guaranteed. The first anchor obelisk needs to be activated. Ovidius is tasked with getting it working, while the rover and Augusta provide cover from waves of Tacit discords. It's a classic escort mission, but with way more cosmic horror and pressure. Teamwork is making the dream work. With the first anchor active, Tyrannos retreats. Yuno reveals that the beast is just trying to throw them off. She says the Chorosaurus is just an appetizer, and she has bigger fish to fry, hinting at a much larger, more dangerous threat lurking in the background. Yuno and the rover team up to track the Chorosaurus. Yuno reveals her resonance power, which can reveal hidden traces of the dark tide. Using this ability, they follow the beast's trail, realizing it's heading toward the second obelisk. The chase continues with a touch of magic. While navigating a cave, Tyrannos ambushes them. The floor gives way, and Yuno stays behind to hold the beast off, telling the rover to go on ahead. It's a classic "I'll hold them off" moment, showcasing Yuno's bravery and commitment to the mission. The second anchor obelisk activates, and the Chorosaurus flees again. This time, it's heading directly for the final anchor, seemingly trying to destroy it. The beast's persistence is noted, and Augusta declares that it's a worthy opponent, respecting its tenacity even as she plans its demise. With all three anchors in place, the net has been cast. Tyrannos is trapped and heading for the Asphodel Barrens. It's time to reel in the prize and finish the hunt. The plan has worked perfectly so far, but the final confrontation is yet to come. They arrive at a horrifying field of corpses, which Augusta reveals is Tyrannos' birthplace. This location has been the site of final battles in every previous hunt. It's a cursed ground where the line between hunter and prey blurs, and only the survivor gets to decide their role. Just as the final battle seems imminent, a new conflict erupts. Augusta confronts Ovidius, testing his resolve. At the same time, a shadowy figure appears. Yuno tells the rover to stay back, as this is a personal matter between Augusta and Ovidius. The drama is at an all-time high. The shadowy figure is revealed to be the true enemy, a being called the False Sovereign. This was the bigger fish Yuno mentioned. The Chorosaurus was just bait to lure this thing out. Suddenly, the entire hunt is recontextualized as a trap for a much greater evil. The False Sovereign speaks directly to the rover, revealing their unique nature. It mentions a frail human form and a past loss, tempting them with a gift of divinity. This is a major lore drop about the rover's backstory and their connection to these cosmic forces. Augusta is wounded in the fight. Yuno asks her a heavy question. If Septimont's fate is already decided, would she continue to fight? Augusta's answer defines her character, stating that a ruler's job is to accomplish the impossible for their people, regardless of destiny. Yuno confesses to the rover that she saw a prophecy of Septimont's destruction and Augusta's death brought about by the dark tide. She admits that despite her denial, she can no longer ignore the vision. The False Sovereign is the key to this tragic fate. In a huge reveal, Yuno explains she gave up her ability to see fate in exchange for resonance power to fight the dark tide. She refused to be a puppet to destiny. The plan was to use the Chorosaurus as bait to lure out the Sovereign in an imperfect form and rewrite the future. Yuno explains that her power has a side effect. Manifesting the dark tide's creations costs a teensy piece of her existence. She gives the rover a lunar bracelet containing some of her power, asking them to rely on it in her absence, as she needs to rest and recover. Augusta reveals she's made arrangements with the Black Shores, specifically a consultant named Baiji, for technical support. They have an agreement to monitor the dark tide's resonance. The rover recognizes the name, offering to handle the communication, making the world feel more connected. Baiji gives the rundown on the False Sovereign. It's absorbing all kinds of energy and frequencies, getting stronger to destroy the Earth Wedge. If it succeeds, the dark tide will be unleashed, and it's game over. The situation is officially dire. Baiji pinpoints the Sovereign's location, Murmur's town, a forbidden territory corrupted by the dark tide years ago. Augusta resolves to stop it there. Ovidius, setting aside his ambition for now, asks to join the fight, uniting the gladiators for the common cause. The crew arrives at Murmur's town, a desolate and corrupted wasteland. It's revealed that this is where the dark tide first started 16 years ago. The sight of it serves as a grim warning of what could happen to Septimont if they fail in their mission. They discover the hollow figures in the town are the corrupted corpses of former gladiators and citizens turned into mindless puppets. This personalizes the tragedy, showing that the victims of the dark tide were once their own people. Augusta vows to make the entity pay for this. The rover needs to find a pure dark tide frequency sample to help Baiji track the Sovereign. They wake up their echo, Abby, to help sniff it out. This kicks off a quest within the town, following a mysterious scent to uncover a hidden truth. Touching a mysterious piece of cloth triggers a vision. A voice speaks of becoming the one true Sovereign and shedding the weakness of a pitiful shell. It's a temptation of power, a recurring theme, seemingly directed at someone in the past. The clue leads them to a sonoro, a physical manifestation of a memory. It belongs to a gladiator who fought the dark tide to his last breath in Murmur's town. They realize his lingering spirit is trying to show them something important about the past. Inside the Sonoro, they find themselves in Murmur's town of the past, when it was called Fabinum. They witness memories of two children, one of whom is a young Augusta. This is a deep dive into her backstory and the events that shaped her. The memories confirm the young girl is Augusta. She reveals Fabinum is her hometown, which was abandoned by the city of Septimont during the Dark Tide attack. She blames the greedy and inactive Senate for its fall, explaining the root of her political crusade. The Sonoro reveals the climax of the tragedy. Augusta's childhood friend, Angel, was the target of the Dark Tide. Augusta tried to protect her but was too weak. The Dark Tide whispered to her about her weakness, a moment that clearly defined her lifelong pursuit of strength. Augusta discusses the prophecies, stating she doesn't fear them. She believes the people of Septimont need the hope of a hero, and as their leader, she must be strong. She even suggests the Rover, with their mysterious powers, fits the description of the prophesied hero. The final memory reveals the horrifying truth. After Augusta was knocked out, her friend Angel somehow gained immense resonance power. She defeated the Dark Tide, but couldn't control the power, transforming into something inhuman. This is the source of the pure Dark Tide frequency they need. With the frequency data from Angel's transformation, Baiji pinpoints the Sovereign's hiding spot. The final hunt is about to begin. The truth of the past has provided the key to fighting the battle of the present. It's a heavy but necessary revelation. With the location known, the gladiators move out to face the Sovereign. Augusta tells the Rover to meet them at the coordinates. As they prepare for the final confrontation, the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future hang heavy in the air. The battle against the Sovereign goes horribly wrong. The creature is too powerful, and a vision shows Augusta and Yuno being defeated. It seems the tragic prophecy is coming true, and their efforts were not enough to change fate. All hope seems lost. A new, desperate plan is formed. They will feed the Sovereign an anchor stone to disrupt it from the inside. Yuno will use her power to stabilize the creature's form so they can attack, even though it puts her at immense risk. It is a massive gamble. Yuno makes a personal request to the Rover, promised to stay by Augusta's side. She explains that the Rover's unknowable void of a fate means they can define their own future. They are the wild card that can change everything. A huge burden is placed on their shoulders. Augusta reveals a secret. For years, she's been haunted by the whispers from the Dark Tide, the same ones from her childhood. They've guided her in battle, but she always resisted their call for power. Now, she plans to use their guidance to face this final threat. In a shocking twist, Augusta's plan is revealed. She intends to fulfill the prophecy by sacrificing herself. By having the Rover defeat her while she's influenced by the Sovereign, she would anoint the Rover as the prophesied hero of heroes, ensuring Septimont's salvation through their victory. The Sovereign reveals its true nature and its connection to Angel, confirming it was manipulating Augusta all along. It attempts to absorb her, fulfilling the final part of the prophecy about the blood of the old king. This has been a long con from the start. Just as all seems lost, visions of fallen heroes and allies appear, lending Augusta their strength. She breaks free from the Sovereign's control, her willpower proving stronger than fate. She declares she will forge her own path, and the real final battle begins. Together, the Rover and the newly empowered Augusta defeat the Sovereign. After the battle, Augusta suggests they can share the title of Hero of Heroes, as the prophecy never said there could only be one. It is a victory earned through shared will, not destiny. Augusta explains why she initially sought out the Rover. She gambled that their unwritten fate, represented by the blank mural in the temple, was the key to victory. Her gamble paid off, proving that an undefined future was the ultimate weapon against a predetermined doom. The rover finally reaches the Earth Wedge and finds a relic, a discoid that looks like a compass. It is locked, and they realize they need help to open it. This sets up the next chapter of their journey, suggesting the end of one quest is the beginning of another. A mysterious, unseen character reflects on the events. He calls the protagonist nearly perfect and refers to himself as their creator. He speaks of the quill of fate, implying he is writing their story and is intrigued to see how far his creation can go. A victory celebration is underway. The rover is honored as a rose bearer. However, a new mystery unfolds as a priestess recounts the battle but omits Yuno entirely, attributing her heroic actions to the rover. Something is very wrong with everyone's memories. The rover confronts the priestess, insisting Yuno was there, but she has no idea who that is. The rover realizes with dawning horror that Yuno hasn't just been forgotten. It's as if she never existed in their timeline. Her entire role has been erased and replaced. The rover speaks to Augusta, hoping she'll remember. At first, Augusta seems to recall Yuno, but then dismisses it as a hallucination caused by the dark tide. She reveals she also experienced visions, but learned to conquer them, urging the rover to do the same. A flashback shows Yuno's last moments, where she anticipates being forgotten by everyone except the unwritten one. The rover holds her bracelet, the only physical proof of her existence, and understands the weight of being the sole keeper of her memory. In a heartbreaking moment, the rover sees a final, fading vision of Yuno. She confirms that she knew this would happen, and that a death that shouldn't have happened was traded for their victory. She fears being forgotten, leaving the rover with an immense sense of loss and responsibility. The rover, now the sole person who remembers Yuno, resolves to find the truth. Believing that everything leaves a trace, they decide to go to the Tetragonon temple, hoping to find some evidence of her existence and understand why she disappeared from reality. At the temple, Yuno's bracelet glows, revealing a hidden mural. The mural depicts the events of the hunt, but it's different from reality. It shows Yuno receiving a trophy, suggesting this is a rewritten version of history, or perhaps the truth that was erased. The rover finds Ovidius, who is having a full-blown existential crisis. He believes the rover erased Yuno to summon the one behind it all. He reveals his realization that his own heroic memories feel fabricated, as if written by a hand holding a feathered quill. Head priestess Labit provides a crucial piece of the puzzle. She found a record of a priestess named Yuno, but it says she died 3 years ago. This contradiction, disappearing today but dying years ago, is a paradox created because the rover's memory is anchoring her existence. Labit explains that Yuno is now a specter stuck in the chaos between life and death. The rover, as the unknowable void, has tangled the causal chain. They are presented with a choice: forget her and let her disappear, or enter the chaos to try and bring her back. The rover makes their choice. They refuse to accept Yuno's erasure, believing their story isn't over. They resolve to enter the chaos, not to reject the ending Yuno wrote, but to fix the regret she left behind and create a new future where she exists. Inside the chaotic realm, the rover finds a fragmented version of Yuno. She recognizes them as the unwritten blank and guides them with moonlight. The mission now is to follow her trace and find more of her scattered self to make her whole again. They travel through Yuno's past, witnessing memories of her as a wild and talented youth, destined by prophecy to become a priestess. These fragmented memories are the anchors the rover needs to collect to start rebuilding her existence from within the chaos. They meet a blacksmith from Yuno's past, who is a reflection of her memory. He tasks them with gathering lunar ball, the material for her bow. This becomes a metaphor for their journey, gathering the pieces of her past to reforge her identity and future. The The journey through chaos brings them to a memory of Yuno as a priestess, giving prophecies. Here, she first meets the Unwritten One, a past version of the Rover. This is the moment their fates first intertwined, the true beginning of their connection. The fragmented Yuno finally remembers everything. She reveals she saw a prophecy of Septimont's complete destruction. Seeing the Rover as a faint light of hope, she chose to sacrifice her existence to create the moon arrow that would change that fate, pinning down the Sovereign. With her memory restored, Yuno entrusts herself to the Rover's plan to rewrite her ending. They resolve to face the chaos together and meet at the very end. The journey shifts from recovery to a cooperative effort to build a new reality for her. The Rover experiences being a prophet, seeing visions for people from Yuno's past. They feel the weight of her power, the joy of giving hope, the pain of delivering bad news, and the helplessness of seeing fates that cannot be changed. It's a deep dive into her psyche. A memory shows Yuno struggling with the limits of prophecy. She realizes that knowing the future doesn't prevent misfortune if fate is predetermined. This existential crisis is what leads her to question her role and ultimately defy destiny, setting the stage for her sacrifice. Augusta confronts Yuno with a new, terrifying prophecy. An unknown disaster will cause Septimont's end, and no hero is foreseen to stop it. Augusta dares Yuno to gaze upon this end and find its cause, a challenge that pushes Yuno to her ultimate choice. They reach a memory of the place where it all began and ended for Yuno. Chaos manifests to attack them, trying to keep them trapped. This is the final crucible, the point where Yuno made her fateful decision, and they must overcome it to escape. A series of journal-like entries reveal Yuno's inner turmoil. She foresaw Septimont's destruction again and again, with no hero to save them. Refusing to accept this, she decided to defy fate, raising her bow to turn a fixed end into a storm of possibility. The blacksmith reappears, offering a final choice. Take the lunar bow and leave, accepting a half victory, or forge it into a bow, committing fully to bringing Yuno back. The Rover chooses to forge the bow, declaring Yuno is not one to give up. They arrive at the memory of Yuno's final moments 3 years ago, where she prepared to sacrifice herself. This time, with the forged bow and the Rover's presence, the memory plays out differently. She is empowered to fight back against her fate. In the final confrontation within chaos, Yuno declares she refuses the ending. With the bow, a symbol of her reforged will, she fights back. She asserts that her heart, not prophecy, will decide her destiny, and together, she and the Rover shatter her predetermined fate. They emerge from the chaos into a vast, infinite void. Yuno explains this is their new changed ending, not a single, defined path, but an endless sea of possibility. It is the true meaning of the Rover's void, a future where anything can happen. The Rover returns to reality, but Yuno is not with them. The way to chaos is closed. For a moment, it seems the anchoring failed. The fear sets in that this new ending is one where Yuno is still gone, and the sacrifice was for nothing. The Rover searches for Yuno at the celebration, asking around. No one seems to know her, and the sense of dread grows. It feels like a repeat of the initial mystery, a painful loop where their victory in chaos meant nothing in the real world. Just as hope fades, a familiar voice calls out. Yuno appears, fully real and present. She reveals that she is back, but as part of the price, the memories of everyone else were wiped. Only the Rover, the anchor, remembers their shared journey. Yuno accepts that her old self is gone from people's memories, but she is optimistic. With the Rover remembering her, her existence is secure. She believes she can forge new connections and friendships, creating a new future instead of dwelling on the erased past. With the crisis averted and the future unwritten, Yuno suggests they rejoin the celebration. It is a perfect opportunity to start fresh. They go together to enjoy the reign of rose petals, no longer bound by prophecy, but free to create their own story.